What's the sound of one hand clapping? Oh. Welcome friends, LostScarf here, and it's time for the vlog. And it's gonna be a different one. Channel stuff, it's going. We're gonna bring back the podcast soon. Things that are happening, Jinx just finished her finals. Oh, well, she has one more actually, but got a week to study for that one, then she's fully done, and then we'll have a lighter period so that we can work on special projects and ideas like that, so we'll see how we finally transform the channel. And that's going to be very interesting what happens there. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick before I talk about the main topic. YouTube is in a very weird, scary place right now because of all the adpocalypses and the algorithms and all that stuff. And I'm a part of a group of YouTubers, and they all just talk and they consider situations and everything. And it's got people who are as small as me, going all the way up to a couple million subs. So it's a good range of the big people, the small people, and people growing in between trying to climb up and everything. And they're constantly looking at their numbers and everything. And it's very interesting seeing just the different philosophies of how things work and people just pouring over the algorithms. And there are people who have been looking at the algorithm very closely for months and trying to understand it and trending and everything. And what they keep finding is extremely depressing. What they found so far is just that it used to be once you got a good video, like a really big hit, the next video was the most important. That's what they found, because it's about getting the follow-ups after that and then growing a community from there. And what they found is at this point you have to be on every single video. Every single video must be really good and really popular, and you cannot experiment and do something that might not get you as popular, because the way the trending works is, as long as you're growing in numbers, you'll keep getting suggested. But if you start going down, you get suggested less. So the algorithm is compounding good and bad. So that's very not good. So what it's doing is, it is actually pushing towards niche and pushing away from experimental. And it's really not good. So basically, right now, if you're a Fortnite person, you're getting a lot of views and everything, and you're going to keep getting suggestions, you keep trending up. But if at any point you try to do anything that isn't Fortnite, you actually will fall out of the trend. So you have to constantly just be making videos only about whatever's popular, and you can't make anything else, because if you do, you'll fall out of the trend, which is really not great. Another problem with the algorithm is, you might notice this yourself, is you have a series of videos, like an LP or so, and instead of episode 1 leading to episode 2, it might lead to like episode 3 or 4 because that was more popular, or to something else that's related, but to whatever game, whatever, and it'll jump to that instead of the next episode in the series as the next suggested video, because those were more popular. Which sounds really counterproductive when it comes to a series. But that's what the algorithm is doing, so it's really dumb. Another move they've done is that stupid bell. So you subscribe to a channel, and you might get the videos in your feed. It's about the bell. If you don't have the bell clicked on, you don't really get to see what videos are coming out of a channel you subscribe to, which is confusing because I thought that's what subscriptions were for. This is their attempt to have your cake and eat it too, I suppose, where you can subscribe to a bunch of channels, but only be notified by the ones you put the bell on. But who does that? I'm only subscribed to channels I actually watch. I don't do random. I support them with a subscription number, because what is the point of that? Subscription numbers do help, but it's all about your view count. Like, the reason why we're able to get all these indie games is because we have the 10,000 subs. If we didn't have 10,000 subs, we wouldn't get as much as we get. Because our viewer count obviously is not as good as it used to be. But any indies who take a look at your viewer count instead of your sub count, obviously, they're not going to like us because we don't get a lot of views. We only get, if we get a really good indie, it'll maybe break 50. And on the rare occasion, we break a couple hundred. So it is a murky business where you just have to somehow hit trending and stay on there, and don't do anything that'll pull you off of trending, which is not good for us because we're so experimental. So I'm like, whoa, crap. Like, if we were only Smite and we only did Smite, we'd be fine. But we've always done the one-shots. So even if we climbed up with the Smite because of the one-shots or whatever, because they're less popular, we would pop off of the trending. And it's like, whoa, crap. So you're forced to not be experimental at all. You're forced to only be niche or super for one game, which is also a niche as well. You're forced to be only the popular. You're forced to do only that. And you're forced to be just niche, where you only do this one type of thing, like one game or one genre, so that people flock to you for that, and that will keep your numbers up. You're not allowed to experiment like we do, so we're actually in a very not good position, because a lot of their mindset is you can't grow community-based anymore because it just doesn't grow you enough compared to just being trendy. And that is kind of depressing. That's actually very depressing because I want to grow through community, because I want us to be tight knit and actually give a damn about each other. That's what I want. And I think we have that to an extent already with our small group. But of course, as we know, I want to grow bigger and bigger. And so we might be pushing ourselves against the wall here, but at the same time, there's always the random things that actually work out, and so we could always be an exception. Who knows? Or we get really popular at 60. Like, we're like the most popular 60-year-olds on the internet. That would be amazing, I suppose, by growing our community. That's a possibility as well. And that's not one I will discount. So what this means, though, is because of how depressing it is and everything with how to grow on YouTube, and the fact that, well, I have a job, and Jinx is doing pretty well with schooling and everything, what it means is we can do whatever the hell we want. And so I'm really enjoying the hardcore series. That's really fun. I'm liking the LPs because I'm doing voices. FF8's coming. We're almost done with Layton. FF8's going to be interesting. There are quite a few girl voices. They're going to be cringy as always, but we'll see what happens. Those of you who are fans of FF8, Jinx thinks Rhinoa should be Valley Girl. And my voice should be for the girl with the sticks. I don't know their names. I can't remember. Jinx's favorite character is one of the characters, but it's not the girls with the sticks, and it's not Rhino. It's the other girl. That's Jinx's favorite character, so I'm not allowed to screw her up. And of course, there's Squall and Cypher, and then there's Ebonora, whatever the villain's name is, and then there's Sid. So Sid is going to be my best but terrible Robin Williams impression, because he's Robin Williams. Just if you're an FF8 fan, look forward to that. After that, if you've never seen the vlog, after that it's going to be Phoenix 4, which is either Apollo Justice or the what's his name? Edgeworth game? I don't remember which one was the fourth one, and then it'll be Layton 4. And then it'll be Chrono Trigger. That's what's coming. So Chrono Trigger's coming. Other things that are coming are Octopath Traveler. I might do side channel stuff with that, because I don't if it's an amazing story, I can main channel it. But I think we're doing like hardcore and Scar plays and stuff like that. You'll notice there's a lot less one-shots, because we're getting a lot more terrible indie games. A lot! And it's frustrating, but there's a couple good ones coming up. Ash of Gods is pretty good. It's like a lesser Banner Saga. That's a one-shot that's coming. And me and Jinx have been playing Sea of Thieves. We'll have a Scarf Plays or a one-shot of that. I know we're late to the party on that one, but it's a good game, so I definitely want to show it. Okay, it's a good average game. It's about the players that make it good. It's a game on its own. Probably not a very fun single-player experience. I'm curious how the single-player experience is, but at the same time, I don't want to fight a galleon with one player, so I don't want to waste time on that, because that could be not very fun. But I think it could be fun as a solo experience with no PvP. It'd be interesting to see what that experience would be, especially if there were NPCs, which I think they're working on. But there are videos coming up. What this means is we can be more experimental and have more fun with it. Because now we are financially, I have a job now. We're not relying on trying to make YouTube the big thing. But YouTube being a big thing is still a dream. Well, not YouTube, the internet. So YouTube, Twitch, Patreon, whatever comes up in the future, something at some point may usurp the status quo. Who knows? Like Twitch, of course, came along and really changed things. Who knows what might come up later on as well. And so we'll try to be on the front of that. And yeah, we're going to keep going at this. It's a very fun thing to do. And if we ever hit it big and make it a live thing, we will. And it'll be a whole lot of fun. And we got to make sure it's fun along the way. Now for the main topic. The main topic, and it's why this episode's titled what it is. I'm always a little philosophical. Not a lot, but a little bit. And that's because I try to understand what is going on with us as people, us as humanity. Because I've always because we those who followed long enough, you understand part of why the scarf is because I have the Messiah complex, and I wanted to be this big important figure and all that stuff. Like, I have that complex. And so with that complex, I look at humanity and go like, what could be done to save humanity? Because it feels like we're all going down the drain. And so it leads to a lot of thoughts and thinking. And looking at Twitter enough, or just social media in general enough, you get a sense of just how people are in a way. And it's not exactly the best picture. It really isn't. And it got me to thinking about what I think we really tend towards and what we think it is at the same time. So I feel like when you look at social media or just people in general, it feels like we mostly tend towards relativism. Relativism is just the morality of things, our view of the truth. Everything is shaped by what's around us. Is whatever we think is right, whatever we think is true, is shaped by our culture around us, which sounds obvious, of course. But the thing is, we do that, but we see it personally as absolutionism. I think that's how it works out, is we have the concept of common sense, where we feel like it's common sense not to do this, not to do that. It's common sense to do these things. But the fact of the matter is, it's the word common sense, and that means it's whatever is done the most is what, because it's common by that. And so common sense for us is not common sense for somewhere else. And that's where it gets a bit ridiculous when you really think about it, because we feel like common sense is absolute instead of the fact that it is common sense. But I, of course, wish we do have absolutes. I feel like murder is an absolute. Like, you don't want murder. You don't. That should be an absolute. I feel like there is a mix of it all. I feel like we have relativism, where we all have our moral truths around us. But I also feel like part of it is an absolutism, in that there are absolutes. And I tend towards, which can be said as subjective as well, just moral goodness, I feel. And that I feel like, yeah, murder should be an absolute, no murder should be an absolute, not stealing from each other should be an absolute. Just, basically, I tend towards us not being jerks to each other. That's what I tend towards. And so, with my relativism of just my moral thoughts and everything, because I believe in heroes and good guys, and I was like, obviously Kirby's my big thing. Kirby is, just analyzing Kirby. Kirby is in the anime, he's a baby. But he's like, he's either a kid or a young adult, depending on where you see his growth as a person, as a character. And he is the one who believes in just fighting the bad guys and doing the good thing and all that. But he can be brash, because sometimes he blames DDD, despite the fact DDD's not actually the bad guy. But he thinks DDD's up to no good because he's learned that. So for Kirby, common sense is DDD's probably up to no good, trying to start trouble in the neighborhood. And so he goes after DDD. In one of the games, he goes after DDD, but DDD's actually doing the right thing, because Kirby goes after him, he actually causes a lot of bad situations, and Kirby has to fix it up himself. There are a lot of times in games where the bad guys come to Kirby's planet, Kirby fights them because they're obviously doing something bad, and there you go. So his relative moral thinking is anything that looks like it's aggressive towards the planet, he's going to go fight it and stop it. And it's all very cute, and he fights very apocalyptic things. You see that with a lot of just hero situations, like you got Link as well, using Nintendo characters. For Link, it's, his kingdom's being attacked by some demonic force. It's always Ganon in some way. And he's saving the people from it because, well, it used to be, of course, there used to be a lot of order with the kingdom, and now there's a lot of chaos with it, so he's bringing order against the chaos. And that's a moral thing of, the chaotic types feel like their marauding and everything is the way of life, that is the right way. And then you have the order types who feel like, no, not having crime is the right way, and stuff like that. I jumped off the path when I went towards Kirby. But because I'm a fan of these hero types, my moral fiber is good things. My moral fiber is towards just being a good person, being a nice person, fighting for what I feel is right, and things like that. But then there's that, I just said, fighting for what I feel is right. And a lot of people have different feelings for what is right. You have rebels in causes, and they could be doing so many different things, good things and bad things, but they feel like they have the moral right because they're fighting for whatever cause. So it's just an interesting thing about how that is. And we can push this over towards politics very easily. where you have people on the left and the right who feel like they're, of course, morally correct and that the other side is very much wrong. And you see different levels of zealotry or zeal from that. One of the extremes, of course, you could go with InfoWars Alex Jones. Alex Jones is insane to me. What was very interesting is last night was the Syrian strike, and Alex Jones flipped out, and he's extremely angry at Trump. But what's weird about it is he blames the liberals, which is so weird, because last I checked, Trump is not a liberal right now. And this is where it gets really ridiculous and kind of scary and kind of insane. With the relativism, where you think you're right about everything, is the othering, the enemy, what do you think is wrong, and then no matter what it is, no matter what the situation, somehow that other, that enemy, is still the enemy, despite the fact they have nothing to do with the situation. The Mueller investigation, Mueller, however you want to pronounce his name, that is a Republican. That is all Republican up in there, and yet it keeps being called Democrat. Like, it keeps being called liberal, when Mueller has been a Republican his entire time. We got McCabe, who's been a Republican the whole time. I don't know what Comey is, but you have all these guys who have been Republicans forever, but because they're against the Trump grain, they're being called secret liberals, or they're being called secret Democrats, and, like, that's not it at all. And that's where thinking about this gets so insane, is the lies we tell ourselves, or our inability to see something other than our narrative. And I think it very much comes from our relativism, our just only seeing from our scope and not being willing to see another side to it. Is it more enlightened to try to see more sides? I would say yes, but it's not something to gloat over, I think, because you have people who say, I see all sides and I'm all great and smart because of that. And it's like, that's not the reason why you should be doing that. It should be doing it for personal growth and personal understanding, to get a better grasp of what's going on. I'm sure I'm losing a lot of people right now with this philosophical talk, because I'm trying to formulate my thoughts as I'm going. But the real crux of all this is, it's all relative. It's all relative. That's really what it is. It's all relative, while there are absolute truths. And the trick is finding the absolute truth. And then, of course, the philosophy is that really an absolute truth or not? And then I guess then it becomes a melding of absolutionism and relativism becoming one thing. And at the end of the day, then maybe it is just relativism. Because is it an end-all be-all? Must it only be absolutism? Must it only be relativism? Can you do a combination? If you do a combination, does it mean it's only one or the other? And it gets really murky with that. Because Jinx used an argument of, if you add 0.33 plus 0.33 plus 0.33, like, you keep going, and you'll always have 0.9999999. Is it 1 or not? And you'll have people who argue it's never 1, and you'll have people who argue it is 1, because you have to accept that that is 1, because that's the only way to get there when you go to 1/3. And so you have that divide, I suppose, in any argument, is if you go deep enough into definitions, there's going to be a divide, and you'll have people who will accept the exceptions to make the house rules, basically, to make it work, or they never, ever fold on it. You're always going to have those people. And so because of that, well, we're always going to be different because of that, which is not a bad thing. But you'll also have just you're hitting your head against a wall on things because of that. So what am I actually saying to all this? I think it's more just shining a light on it. It's shining a light on relativism and on absolutionism and our moral fiber because of that, where we think our moral fiber is the true morality. But the truth of the matter is, people are mutable. We can constantly change. Our morality can change. Our thought process can change. What we see of the world can change. And we should not force ourselves to be stuck in the sand on something, I suppose. Although it isn't, at the same time, it is important to have a moral backbone and be willing to plant your feet for something. Now I think about it, like, it's a murky business of, you should be willing to bend, but not break. Like, morally speaking, or just growth-wise, I feel like it's important to have a strong stance on things, to have a strong backbone, to not just to give in and be wishy-washy. But at the same time, you should be willing to flex, because there is always the chance that you were wrong, or just not informed enough on a situation. It's very important here. Now I'm going to go after anti-vaxxers. Anti-vaxxers piss me off so goddamn much. We have thousands upon thousands and thousands of evidence that vaccinations are good for you. But then we have the one study that was made up that says otherwise. And the anti-vaxxers run with that one story, with that one study. And it's very frustrating because this leads to, of course, diseases coming back. And then you have the arguments of like, well, why do they exist? If there's like, why do vaccines exist if there are still people who can still get sick with it? And it's because the idea is everyone gets vaccinated because some people actually the vaccination will fail. But if everyone else is vaccinated, then it doesn't hit those people. That's the logic to it. There's a reason why everyone needs to get vaccinated. Because there are the exceptions of people who can't get vaccinated. But if everyone else is, then it's fine. Because, let's say, 99 and 1. 99 people are vaccinated, the 1 is not vaccinated, or the vaccination failed and they have it, but it can't get to the other people because they're vaccinated, so they're fine. 99 people not vaccinated and the 1 person is vaccinated. All those people are getting sick, obviously, and the 1 person is not. But the reason why the first example is the reason why we have everyone get vaccinated. For the rare few who can't get vaccinated, if everyone else is, then they can't get that 1 person sick. That's the idea. And even if we did get autism, seeing the numbers and how often autism does happen in the population in general, and we're saying this all the vaccinations, it is such a negligible number because polio would be very bad to have back, and so would be a lot of other ones. It was mind-blowing when, was it New Jersey? I think it was New Jersey. One of the northeastern states, they struck down they didn't struck down, but they made it that vaccinations are required, and the anti-vaxxers flipped the hell out. They cursed at the board, they're flipping them off, they're saying a bunch of things. And then there's the one clip of the woman saying, we're anti-vaxxers, we're a minority. We're a minority, you should be listening to us, we're a minority. It's like, you're not a minority, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You are an idiot, that's what you are. And so there should be, and so the argument is, well, should you have a willingness to bend towards anti-vaxxing? And there should at least be a small kernel of the potential of, maybe it's possible things are really nefarious in vaccinations. You can have that little kernel, but obviously very much in the way of no vaccinations are great, what the hell's wrong with you? I gave that example as one of the hot button things that I just cannot just really very much hate people for. Anti-vaxxers, I hate them so very much. If you're an anti-vaxxer, I hate you. You can still watch. I just hate you. That's a bad way to put it. But just thinking about morality and all that stuff. And we just, for the most part, we see it. And the reason why, actually what really set off the whole relativism is just looking at Twitter and just seeing when people make a statement, it's really popular. And then you see the reactions to them, and there's just all over the place. And that's the truth of the matter. Is there's so many people, there's going to be so much all over the place. And so it leads to relativism, I feel. But a yearning for absolutionism to make more sense and simplify everything. I think that's really what it is. And so, because there was one on relationships. There was like 100,000 retweets and likes and all that stuff. And it's her talking about how kissing is cheating, interaction with other that's saying kissing is not cheating, and saying like flirting, like real deep flirting is cheating, or that flirting is not cheating. There's like all different things. And the honest truth of it is, seeing all the reactions to it, positive and negative, the obvious truth is this. Everyone has their own thoughts on how a relationship should work. And if you get into a relationship, figure that out at the start. Because if you're dating someone who feels that flirting is cheating and you flirt a lot and you don't feel it's cheating, obviously there's a problem here and you two should not be together. Or one of you needs to bend. If one feels kissing is not cheating and the other one feels it is, obviously that's not going to go well. Of course, honestly, what really is the center of it all is respect of the relationship and the boundaries that each have. It's more of that than anything. If they both respect each other and they have feelings about boundaries and they don't cross each other's boundaries, then they're fine. Even if they feel one thing is not cheating or the other, if they never cross the boundary, then it's fine because that means they respect their partner. But there was a lot of just angry and vehement arguing that some people were doing like flirting isn't cheating, and some were just arguing that kissing isn't cheating. Which for me, flirting is a gray area, but kissing is very much cheating to me. That's a whole level right there. Um, like once it becomes body, anything involving saliva, I suppose, that's when I feel like the cheat happens. You can be friendly and hug and all that stuff, but once it gets that far, it's like, oh, okay. It's also a question of honesty to yourself and to your partner. And you have people who feel like this is the other problem is to ourselves we have a double standard. We will judge others for things that we will do as well, but we justify it because we can justify it to ourselves, while as the other person cannot justify their actions to us. So we feel like they are a total ass while we think we're okay. You can say this for like traffic. Someone cuts you off, you hate the hell out of them. You cut someone else off, you're like, sorry, I needed to because of this reason or that reason. That is probably the simplest example of the double standard we have. Where someone screws us over, we get very mad about it. We screw someone else over, we say it was an accident, or we had to for whatever reason or whatever things. We justify it. That is the double standard. The thing about any philosophy, I feel, is philosophies can be used for good and for bad. And I feel like for the most part, they get used very much for the bad. Like you can say Ayn Rand's objectivism. The idea behind Ayn Rand's objectivism, just the definition, is that there is no moral truth. I mean, okay, I'm saying that wrong. There is no. I have to just get the definition because I can't. The idea is the belief that certain things, especially moral truths, exist independently of human knowledge or perception of them. So that right there, for me, means with that, just reading it again, what that means is there are moral truths independent of human knowledge or perception of them. That means there are truths. And for me, those truths are positive truths, where you should be like a good person and a nice thing, or all these positive things. Ayn Rand, the creator of it, of course, used it to justify being a total asshole. She used it to justify capitalism, just crushing everyone, going towards monopolies, just being as money grubby as possible, being okay through objectivism, where it is basically your moral right to screw over everyone for you to climb up as far as you can, with like Atlas Shrugged and the Fountainhead, and it's just you could take it to such a positive level, but the one who originated it used it to justify just being a total asshole. And you see that with with a lot of moral philosophies, where they actually exist to facilitate to make it okay that you're a total ass. It's a weird thing, and I think that's really what it is. At the end of the day, is we're looking for justification for what we do and who we are. Like I'm looking for justification for why I do what I do. Other people are looking for justification for why they do what they do. Someone who is morally bankrupt, someone who's just a very not good person who screws over a lot of people, they're looking for moral reasons that make it okay. Like another one, of course, is social Darwinism, where the idea is it's survival of the fittest, and so that capitalists should be trying to climb up as high as they can, and anyone who they crush on the way, well, that's Darwinism. That's what it is. This is a social construct created to justify that. And it just gets bastardized so poorly, and it's not so great. And that's really what we all do, I suppose, is we use things to justify our actions and to make them okay. I use, maybe not so much as a justifier, but I use heroism and being a good person, maybe as justification, but more as a inspiration to be a better person. That's what I do. And I'm using fictional characters, of course. I'm using Kirby, Link, Mario, a bunch of other characters to give me a inspiration to be something greater. And that's we could say, relatively speaking to me, my motivation and why I'm doing what I do. And this was a really weird talk, wasn't it? And there's a reason why it's titled what it's going to be titled. Like, I told Jinx what I was going to do, and Jinx already had the title ready. And oh man, at the end of the day, what can we take away from everything I just said? It's really, in the quest to understand ourselves and other people, here's my takeaway from it is, what I said around the beginning of this talk is we have our relative truth and belief in everything, which is formed by our own moral fiber, but also the world around us giving us this, forging what we are. And because it's the world around us and ourselves, it's constantly mutable. We will constantly have our morals change in some way, not extremely maybe, but a little bit here or there in different directions. It will change over time as we age. But we see our relative morality, our relative view of the world as the absolute truth of things. That's what we see. And we should be kind of careful of that a little bit. We should still believe in ourselves and what we do, but we should recognize that there's always a chance, and I've made this argument before, we should recognize there's always a chance we're the a-hole, and maybe we are doing a double standard. And so with that, we can all say it's all relative, man, so it doesn't really matter. But you can also say it's all relative, so understanding that can help you navigate your way through things and do things better. And understand just how other people work, and how you can navigate other people and friendships and relationships, and figure out the people you want to be around. I think the argument that not being around toxic people, like saying just cut them out of your life, that's a good idea. That is a good idea, because there are a lot of people out there, and you should do kind of what's right for you. But also because it is a battle of morals where you're like, they could be a better person and they don't want to change at all, and they feel like, and they could bring you down and make things worse for you, and because that maybe you don't even have them at all. And that's okay. I feel like we keep having this fear of coming off as the jerk, despite the fact we're just trying to take care of ourselves. And so we let ourselves deal with things that are horrible and not great, because there's also the whole moral belief that just stoically dealing with bullshit is okay. And to an extent it is, but to an extent you should cut yourself off from things that are terrible. And that might be a whole nother philosophical talk as well. But these are just what's on my mind right now. As always, these vlogs are what's on my mind, and that's what's on my mind. Is just thinking about people and understanding them and just their thoughts and beliefs on things. And there's also the chance it's all an act, and it's just a way to make money off people because of the people who believe in whatever bubble they're in, whatever echo chamber they're in. My echo chamber consists of cats and dogs and other things, and sometimes politics get in there. That's my echo chamber. But there you go, that right there is the vlog, very long one, and I am curious what everyone thinks. Like, y'all are pretty quiet, and I'm okay with that. I do wish we had better engagement, though, for sure. But it is what it is, and if I can somehow evoke, whichever one, to get you guys to talk a little bit, then that'd be great. But if you don't want to talk, you don't want to talk. That's just how it is. That is the vlog right there. I had fun talking. Hope you had fun watching and listening, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.